Welcome to the Mom Owned and Operated podcast, the podcast about moms and for moms, where we have candid conversations about running a business, raising a family, and remembering ourselves. I'm your host, Rita Suzanne, a single mom of four, digital strategist, and provider of no-nonsense business strategies and tactics. Hi, this is Rita Suzanne, and today I have my guest Amy with me. Amy, please tell everyone all about you, your business, and your family. And thank you, first of all, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation. So I'm Amy Spencer-Youngs. I'm a mom entrepreneur and copywriter, and I empower mom bosses to master their mindset and tame the chaos of mom life so that they can grow their businesses without sacrificing family. And I just love working with moms because as a mom myself, it was hard to find a mentor who knew what I had been through, or knew what I was going through at the time. So that's why I do what I do now. I started as a freelance copywriter though. So I did that for about 20 years before I transitioned into the mentoring space. I am also a yoga teacher. I love to read. I'm a personal development junkie, and I have two boys who are now 8 and 10. We live in Northern New York, and we have a dog and two cats.
I love it. Okay, so my first question is always like, what did the path of becoming an entrepreneur look like for you?
Yeah, so as I kind of just alluded to, I started in my mid-20s as a freelance copywriter, as a side hustle for my full-time job. I worked on things like website copy and e-newsletters and blogs for small business owners when those were pretty new things. So that was kind of exciting to jump in, when blogging and all the web stuff was pretty new. And I never really pushed to create a full-time income from that. It was just like something I did for fun, for extra money. But then when I got married and had my oldest, I at the time was working like a 45-minute one-way commute away. So, I did some remote work for them for a little while. And then when they started pushing me to come back full time, I realized I didn't want to add 2 more hours onto an already like 9 to 5 job with my commute. So I decided to quit and really focus on pursuing a full-time income on my own. And as I worked to kind of build my business, I realized that I couldn't do things the same way I did when I was single, when I was doing it as a side hustle. That work that I had to put in was a lot different when I wanted it to be my full-time income. And it was a lot harder when I was also caring for an infant. So, I started looking for mentors who were doing things with kids at home, and I couldn't really find them at that time. So I learned what I could. I took what I could. I created, strategies that worked for me. And over time, I decided to start helping other moms who are starting and growing businesses do the same without all that extra learning curve.
I love that. I think that that's so important to have someone who can teach you along the way. And oftentimes I think that we're afraid to even ask for help. So, knowing that someone is out there to help you is so important, even if it's, especially in the beginning. Do you find that when people are first starting out, they're, bootstrapping or, they're low on funds? And so how does that work with your services?
Yeah. So, I know as when I was first starting as a mom, we had one income. So it wasn't like I had a lot of extra money to invest in my business. I was doing a lot of, following the mentors that I resonated with, and then taking all of their free stuff, every free challenge they did, every freebie they offered, I was in it. until I was making enough that I could invest in, maybe their low ticket offer and then
Right.
continue to grow and invest in myself. And so a lot of the stuff that I offer, I have a free group, I do free workshops or free master classes. And then I also have a range of offers for moms in whatever, stage of business they're in. So I have the low ticket, $11 to $100 kind of mini courses or workshops, longer workshops. And then I have some mid-ticket offers that are, a little bit more. And then I have my high ticket, like high touch one-on-one and mastermind stuff. So I try to make it accessible for as many moms as possible because I've been there. I get how it can be number one, it can be hard for us to convince ourselves that we're worth investing the money in because I don't have any clients. I don't, we don't have a lot of money, whatever it is. But then it's also, when you're first starting out, taking those little steps can start to build the momentum to get you where you want to go. So I want to make sure that every mom out there who's growing a business has access to the resources that they need.
Yeah, I think that's important. I know that one of the first things I had to learn when I started was that my mindset wasn't there. So I think that goes hand in hand with what you're saying with they don't feel like they deserve it. It's because they don't really know what they could do just yet. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And mindset is actually really at the core of everything that I teach when I'm working with clients, because I believe that if the mindset isn't there, then no strategy, no action, no marketing, no content is going to do anything for you if you don't have the mindset that you can actually be successful.
It's funny because I remember my first coach, she told me, she said, you really have a mindset problem. I had no idea. I had no idea what that even meant. So, now having been in the business for, in this industry for so long, I understand what it means. But when someone who's not familiar hears mindset, what to you does that mean?
I mean, mindset really is just, how do you perceive the world around you? Do you look at it like everything's a problem, like everything is a challenge, like you're the victim, or nothing goes right for you? Like, is that how you see the world? Or do you see the world as possibility and opportunity and solutions, right? So I think in helping people to see their mindset may not be where they want it to be, I usually just start with, like, what are the thoughts that you
Mhm.
think when you're faced with a challenge? What are what's the voice that comes up? Is it, that negative Nancy, or is it supportive Sally who's like, yes, we can do this? So
Yeah.
it's really about, like, what are you hearing in your head every day?
Yeah, I think that's so true, and in believing in themselves, because often because we're not seeing our clients coming in or any sales coming in, then it's easy to fall into that little pattern of nothing's working for me and this isn't meant to be for me. But if you just can flip your mindset around a little bit, then things will start to happen, and it'll be easier if your mindset is there with you along the way. So I love that
Yeah.
you're tackling that. I think that it's a super important foundational piece that a lot of people miss.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that when, when I first started with personal development and learning about my mindset, I would hear, like, just switch that belief into something that you want to believe. And it would be like, okay, well, right now, I don't believe that I can run a business with a baby at home. I think it's too hard. And so I'm just going to start telling myself I can have $1 million business with a baby at home. But that gap between my current reality and where I wanted to be was so big that there was no belief there. It was just words coming out of my mouth. So I had to learn to take the baby steps, even in my mindset. Like, okay, yes, this is hard, but I know I can do it, right? Maybe that's where you start. Yes, this is hard, but I know I can get my first client.
Hmm.
Or yes, this is hard, but I know that I can, do one thing today to help me get closer to my goal, and start there, and then gradually, get to that belief of I can build $1 million business with a baby at home.
Yeah, I think that's true because for me, something like that, it seems so unrealistic, right? Like I'm a realist and so some of the woo stuff, it just is too much for me. But a lot of it I do prescribe to, like journaling and affirmations. And because I say that, because I realized what she had told me is, you put these affirmations up and have them around you. And at first I was just like, this is so silly, but I would catch myself just glancing up there and reading them and then starting to believe them, even though
Yeah.
at first I thought that they were silly. And
Yeah.
then I had so many breakthroughs with journaling and, all these other things that it started to be for me a reality that if you don't have your mindset correct, then your business cannot succeed, right? Because
Yeah.
you're going to stumble through a lot of it, especially in the first 2 years. You're going to be stumbling all over yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that mindset isn't like one and done. It's not like, okay, now
Mhm.
I've got a positive mindset and everything's going to go great. Mindset is something that you're constantly working on every level in your life, in your business. There's going to be another belief that you're like, oh, I didn't even know that was there.
Right.
And now that's something I have to like shift and change. So that's another thing that I think people don't, either they don't get or they don't really want to put the work in, because it is daily, consistent, regular work that you have to do to, read those affirmations every day, do that journaling every day. And yeah, the mindset challenges that you face are going to change over time, but there's always going to be something that
There's
you're working
always
through.
something. Especially, because life is throwing stuff at you every day. I know, like for me, when I started my business, I've had the most challenging 9 years of my life, and so does this coincide with me starting my business? I'm not really sure, but I think that having the tools that I got from, helping with my mindset really helped me get through a lot of it. And so I think that that was important. So let's switch a little bit from mindset. Let's talk about what is your core service that you offer for your business.
Yeah, so I would say that, my core service really comes down to three things. It's that mindset, first and foremost, like I said. And then there's also strategy. So time and energy management, as well as marketing strategy, business strategy. And then there's the messaging part, which is, the content creation and the copywriting and the email and the sales pages, because the women that I work with mostly are online service-based entrepreneurs. So they're creating the content, they're doing the website, they're doing the sales pages. And that's a big part of what they do. And it's also a part of like my experience and my knowledge. So it's kind of those three core things for me.
Well, I love that you talked about messaging a little bit because I feel like that is one of the biggest stumbling blocks that a lot of entrepreneurs happen upon. So, can you tell us like some tips on how to get your messaging correct? Because I think that and just knowing what differentiates you is the two main things that entrepreneurs struggle with.
Yeah. So it comes down to a couple really basic things. And when I say basic, I mean like you really should have these things locked down when you start your business,
Mm.
or else they're going to keep like you're going to keep stumbling over them every step of the way. So knowing who you're serving, and then knowing how you're solving their problem. So what problem you're solving and how you're solving it. And when you know those things, then you can create messaging that uses their language, the people that you're serving, that talks to the problems and the pain points that they have, but also that talks to things that they desire, the goals that they're trying to reach. So your messaging isn't just about you, your business, what you do. It's about your person and how you support them and how you help them. And that I think is really key. So, and that can evolve over time. Like it's going to change as you grow, as you learn, as you offer new things, as your business evolves. But it's something you have to know when you start. You have to know, like, who am I serving and how am I helping them? What problem am I solving for them? And it seems really basic, but so many people that I talk to are like, yeah, I did that ideal client exercise. I know who I'm serving. But then it's like, okay, so tell me about them. And it's like, well, they're women who run businesses, right? Like
is a 50 and 75.
right. It's like, oh, okay. Well, now we got to really dig in. We got to really like figure this out. And you don't have to know everything about them. I tell my clients, like, you don't have to sit down and like know everything about them. But a great way that I've learned works for most people is to think about, like, either if you've never had a client before, what experiences have you had that relate to what your client's going through, and think about who you were at that time. Or had some clients, think about your absolute favorite client, and then think about, who they are, what they do, what they look like, what the problems are that they have. And that way you've got like a real, when you sit down to write your content or create your sales page, whatever it is, you have like a real person in your head that you can speak to, talk to them like you're talking to a friend, talk to that old version of you, or talk to your favorite client. That makes it a lot easier, I think, when you sit down to create content, when you're like, okay, I'm just going to have a conversation. I'm just going to like tell them what I'm excited about, or tell them how I solve this problem, or give them my favorite tip on XYZ. I mean, when you sit down with a girlfriend, you're always sharing like that recipe, or, that product that you love, or whatever it is. And that's exactly what you need to do in your messaging to really create that connection that will then get you clients or customers.
Yeah, I think that's so important. For me, I think that because I've been so into branding and marketing for so long, that I think that that's something that people fail to do. And often, like you said, clients will come to me and they would want help, but they wouldn't know who their target audience is. And so I subscribe to the power of one. Do you do that as well?
I'm not exactly sure
Okay.
what that is. Yeah.
So the power of one is basically when you have one ideal person in mind. So just based on what you were saying is what is the power of one. So then you get to know that person in and out. And that way, when you're sitting down and you're writing copy, or you're creating your social media posts, or even when you're creating your offers, you have that one person in mind, and it actually flows easier for you. And as your business grows, you can have more people, but it would, be that same person at different levels of their business and their
Right.
life, right? Because how do
Yeah,
you
I love
create
that.
multiple offers if you only have the power of one, sticking out
Right.
over there?
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what I subscribe to. So what is the core benefit that you're offering to your customers and clients?
I think it's, the knowledge that's necessary to really create a unique business structure that works for them and their family. And then the confidence to take that continued action to get the results and have the impact that they really want to have.
I love all of that. So when someone signs up to work with you, what does it look like?
Well, it varies depending on, what offer they jump into, but, typically they'll sign up on the website for whatever the offer is. And then depending on how they kind of came into the funnel, they'll either get an email or a DM with the details that they need. And most of my offers include a Facebook group or a Boxer kind of messaging element. So they'll get the info they need to join the group or get that support. And then if they get calls, they'll get all of that information in an email as well. So how to schedule or how to participate in group calls. And then, the rest is dependent on whether it's a program or a course or one-on-one. But yeah, that's the basics.
I love that you're offering Voxer too. I do that with my more one-to-one sessions, but I think that it's so important because it helps you along the way. Like, what if I just have the most silly question and I'm like, I can't wait until next week, but I really want an answer. And so then it allows you to have that instant access, but it gives us a little bit of space as well to answer it when we can, without it feeling too heavy. So what do you think that your clients like about working with you?
I think first they like having a mentor who knows what their current experiences is, what the challenges they're having are, what the problems, they're working through are. I've had a lot of clients tell me that they really love how I hold space for them and ask them questions. That seems to be kind of a unique thing for a coach that really focuses on working with businesses. I'm not always quick to tell my clients what to do or how to do it. Although I will offer advice or give suggestions for strategy and things like that, I tend to help them kind of pull the answer out that they already know, right? They already know a lot of times what's going to work for them and what's not going to work for them. And they just need someone to hold that space for them to either find the answer or to be confident enough to take action based on that answer.
Yeah. I think that that's important. So what is your favorite thing about what you do?
I'd say I have two favorites. So I love the kind of creative element of being able to integrate the writing and editing into the work I do. I help clients with their copy. I audit their social media content. I give them help with sales pages and emails. That's fun for me. But I also really love being on the calls with them and seeing that moment where they have the shift or they have the aha, right? Where they realize in real time that they know an answer or they have a new action that they can take. There's nothing like seeing the client get that shift or celebrate that action and and know that their results came from the work that they've been doing. That I think is priceless, just being there with them in those moments.
I love that too. I think it's I think it's so rewarding, because now that I don't do services, just witnessing my clients actually have those moments of winning is so much better, because before I could hand them this tangible, beautiful website, it's all wonderful. It's doing all the things. But now that I'm not doing that anymore, you have to set up, I guess, another thing. I have this list going of all the women that I've been helping over this past year. So it's like, oh, great. I can add one more person to my list, which is my mission to help as many women. I have a number, so that helps keep me on track. So I'm trying to help at least 100 women before August. So even if I just do one little tiny thing, I'm like, okay, you get to get on the list.
Yeah. I love it. And I think that's a really good example of how, when we're maybe struggling with our mindset about how much impact we're having, if we can really back up a little bit and think about what can success look like that's not that big thing, right? Success can be, oh, I answered someone's question in the DMs today. Oh, I got a new member in my group today, right? These are the things. And if you keep track of those things, that creates that momentum, that builds that confidence.
Yeah, I have so two things that I think that people can do in order to help kind of make that last longer is I have a folder in my email that I call my kind words is what I call it. But so anytime someone sends me something nice, I put it over there. And that way, if I'm struggling ever to, move past a certain point or, ever feeling like I'm not making an impact, I can go into the kind words and just read the nice things that were said to me. But then also creating what some people call a win wall. And so just having all your wins on that wall over there and having it every time you look at it, it would be a motivator. So I think that's important too.
I love those. Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear, since you are so into Audible and reading and stuff, what are you currently reading right now?
So I have a long list. I'm always reading at least one or two books. But right now I'm reading and working through The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I did it a long time ago. And then, having kids, I lost the creativity that I did just for myself. And so this book it kind of leads you through this process of rediscovering your own creativity. So I'm reading and working through that. And then I love novels. I love fiction. So I'm reading Never Have I Ever by Jocelyn Jackson. She's one of my favorites. So that's a really good one. And then I have on Audible, I'm listening to what is the name of it? Platonic. It's about friendships. So I'm listening to that right now. And then on any given day, I have like 1,000 podcasts waiting for me to listen to them.
So is the one on Audible, is it about creating like relationships for business, or what is it about?
It's about the value of friendship. So I heard about it on We Can Do Hard Things with Glennon Doyle. They had the author on as a guest. So I just started it. So I haven't
Love that.
I don't have all the details, but it sounded really good on the episode.
Well, perfect. So let's say not if, when a small business owner comes to you and they're struggling with problems, what is your best advice that you usually give?
I think back to when I first started in the online space, the thing that I struggled with most was comparing my now to someone else's future, right? So the advice I always give is don't compare yourself or your business to anyone else's. Just put the blinders on, get a mentor who knows where you're at in your life and can help you with the particular problems that you're having right now, and then take action and just rinse and repeat. Because I think the thing that we forget is that, our journey is our own. It's not going to look like anyone else's. You could have the same exact service or the same exact product as someone else, and your journey to get it out into the world and to create success in your business is going to be completely different than that other person. So focus on what works for you, keep doing it, and celebrate every step along the way.
I love that. I always tell my kids that, and I believe this too, the only person you're competing with is yourself. And so, like you say, I always tell my clients, I'm like, definitely wear the blinders, keep them up. Don't look at anybody else, because the services that they're offering, and especially if you have that power of one in place, right? You have that one person. So maybe that service isn't necessarily even going to fit this person. Like, yes, it looks beautiful, it looks shiny, but it might not be the solution that your one person needs.
Yeah. I love that. It's so true.
So where can everybody find you online? Where are you at?
So the best place to find me is in my Facebook group. It's the Mom Entrepreneur Network on Facebook. And then you can also follow me on Facebook, Amy Spencer Youngs. And I'm also on Instagram at Amy Youngs Coaching. And that's Amy with an I.
Yes, thank you. And everything will be linked below. So I thank you so much for being a guest. It's been wonderful having you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
And there you have it. I want to encourage you to remember that being a mom who runs her own business is not easy. We all struggle, but just keep moving forward and don't forget to make time for yourself. As moms, we are usually the first thing to go to the bottom of the list. If your business is overwhelming you and you need real solutions, not just some sugar-coated suggestions, apply to work with me at ritasuzanne.com/apply.